Please remain standing for a moment of silence. You may be seated. The clerk will call the roll. Please correct the pronunciation of your name if it is incorrect.
Anderson, Venegas, Coleman, Kopp, Copeland, Colton, Cumby, DeLorenzo, Gary, Giddens, Gopel, Hargrave, Hodges, Holbert, Kluge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Losery, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Peterson, Forge, Primus, Ramkison, Roach, Roston, Ryan, Sams, Zeitler, Terhune, Paloka, Villariza, Walker, Ward, Ware, Witherspoon, Young.
With a quorum being present, is there a motion to approve the Journal of April 15, 2026 as found online? Is there a second? We are now in line for special guests of the Senate. The Athletics Department, you are recognized.
Just worry about the meeting.
Yeah, you're
Perfect. Okay. It's so formal. I just want to make sure I didn't overstep. Thank you all so much. My name is Jeff Crane. I'm the Deputy Athletics Director in the Athletics Department. So happy to be here with you all today to walk through some exciting opportunities we have at Williams-Brice Stadium. Any of you that may have driven by there over the last, 6 to 8 months, almost said 6 to 7 months, but I didn't fall into that. I have an 18 and 14-year-old, so they get me on that. So you've seen the incredible work that's being done there, and we're so excited about the opportunities that students are going to have because of this renovation, something that Dr. Amaritas has advocated for quite some time, is going to result in some really awesome opportunities for students, which we'll talk about. So we're going to kind of give you all a sneak peek in terms of what's coming. Happy to, at the end, answer any questions you have or take any feedback that you have. This is all a real dynamic sort of process. We meet with our architects on a very regular basis, and we're constantly giving them feedback and tweaking these experiences to try to make them better. And so your feedback as you represent other students is really important. So don't hesitate to provide some of that. Okay, so awesome. All right, so what you're seeing here, and I'm going to kind of continue to look backwards, so forgive me for that for now. But what you're seeing here is the foundation of a student club. We think it's a first of its kind student club. We don't know of any other space like this that exists in the country at a football stadium, but this is a space where you all as students will be able to utilize this space on game days. I'll talk to you a little bit more about what's in the space as we go through this. But the great news is you're also going to have access to this space, and student organizations will have access to this space on non-game days as well. Again, Dr. Amaritas felt like we needed more space for students to gather, and what a great, perfect place to do it at Williams-Brice Stadium. We've got lots of parking in and around the stadium, as you all know, and we're going to have a huge space where students can host events or speakers or maybe even have a meeting like this. So let's stop right here for a second. Those of you that have been to games in recent years, you've probably experienced the concourse at Williams-Brice Stadium behind the north stands, behind the student section, which is an absolute debacle, to say the least. You literally, as you all know far better than me, you cannot even navigate that concourse because there are thousands of students trying to squeeze through a space that's probably just a little more wide than this aisle right here. We are correcting this by creating this new massive club space that will create much more easy movement in and out of the stadium for students, in and out of the student section for students as well. And so these cramped concourses that you're accustomed to seeing will be no more. I will say for the 2026 season, it's going to be a bit of an in-progress experience. There's going to be a shelled out, this club space will be shelled out, not completed until the 2027 season. So any of you that are going to be seniors next year, start talking to your parents about another year so you can experience this club in the 2027 season. So this gives you a rendering. This is just a concept of this new club space. Inside this club space is air conditioning, first and foremost, which is kind of a nice amenity. Also, it's obviously fully enclosed, so on those rainy days, kind of like we had, I think it was the South Carolina State game last season, it was an absolute downpour, which was unbelievable because those of you who stayed out there in the rain through that was incredible. I think that the nation actually took notice of that, how loyal our students were to be there throughout that entire, gosh, I think it was almost 3-hour delay. So kudos to those of you that toughed that out. In the future, you're going to have an opportunity to go inside this new club space. Now, the tricky part for us is we want this to be a good and nice club space, but we don't want it to be too nice, because the reality is that we want you to still be in the stands. That's the most important part. We need you. We need you in the stands. The students are the difference on a game day oftentimes between a field goal, a touchdown, a stop, a sack, a fumble. All those things, students can make a difference when they're so loud there in that north end zone. But also in this space, lots of tables, lots of chairs, lots of places to sit down and kind of catch your breath. Restrooms, those of you, and I'm going to show you the restroom counts, which I think will make you really happy. We'll get to that in a second. And then obviously concessions as well. Let's stop right here. This is just a nice visual for what's to come. You're looking here toward the south end of the stadium. This east side, which is on my right here, is a club space that will be open for the 2027 season. What you also see there is something that students have been asking for a number of years, and that's video boards. We'll now have 2 video boards down there on the south end. So one, you won't have to do like I'm doing every time there's a replay that you want to see. You'll be able to just look straight ahead and see those on the video screen, which is going to be an awesome addition. Those video boards, we hope, will be up for the 2027 season. That's the goal. We don't have an exact timeline on those yet, but we do believe those will be up for the 2027 season. This club space that's on my left, you won't see that club space likely till the 2028 season, but God willing, the video board will be there in 2027. You know what? Would you mind going back to that one? There's another thing I want to point out that I think would be of interest to you all. You see there that large tunnel, okay? That tunnel doesn't exist today, but we're going to be building this tunnel space because there's lots of things we're trying to solve for in this stadium renovation. One of the things we're trying to solve for is making Williams-Brice Stadium more accessible for large-scale events, concerts, for example. So with this, you'll be able to bring a large truck right onto the field, set up stages and rigging and all those things that today we just aren't able to do. One of our goals here is to bring more large-scale events to Williams-Brice Stadium. We've got to find ways to utilize that stadium more than just 7 times a year. And we think by doing this, as we talk to those that are in the space, they tell us, if you can make the stadium more accessible, that's going to allow you to bring more of these outside opportunities in. And as those of you that may be tracking on some of this, especially around the SEC right now, there are stadium shows that seem to be popping up left and right at all of our peers. We're going to be in that game 2027. We'll be in that game too. We're also adding 3 kitchens in the stadium, which today we have 0 kitchens. So the food and beverage experience will be elevated significantly with the addition of the kitchens as well. Thank you. All right, we'll stop here for a second. So this is obviously looking at the student section. Now, the top of the student section, this is probably the area that I'm most excited about. Not everybody calls it this, but I'm going to call it a party deck because that's really what it's going to become. It's going to be additional space and it'll be new added space for students in our lower level. It'll be standing room only. There'll be concessions there. It'll be covered. And you can only imagine what an awesome experience that's going to be. Very much a social type scene for those people who may not want a designated seat per se. I know for the most part, nobody really has a seat. You're just standing up. But now you're going to have this added party deck. We don't know exactly how many students we're able to fit on that yet. We still got to work with the fire marshal. We're going to catch him or her on a really good day and make sure we can cram as many students in there as we possibly can. So you look long-term, this will be open in 2027, where ultimately we're adding more seats, more lower-level seats, and I'm going to talk to you in a minute about more upper-level seats for students. One of the things that we've heard time and time again, great problem to have, is that we have a number of students that can't get into games. We don't want that. We don't know if we're going to completely solve that problem this go-round, but we are adding more and more seats, and we'll discuss that in a little more detail here in just a few minutes. This is looking at the west side. Big part of this renovation is the addition of club and suites. So ultimately, this will add 45 suites to Williams-Brice Stadium and new 2,500 club seats. This is going to help us generate new revenue, up to about $25 million a year in new revenue that we can ultimately put back into the program and help us be competitive. So here's a view from this party deck. So you can imagine all the students lining up. Back here, you also will be overlooking the fairgrounds. You'll be able to see the city. It's going to be incredible views. Again, this space will be available for students 365 days a year. So you want to have a student event on that party deck, you'll be able to do that. Here's another view, lots of shade, which we hear time and time again. We need more shade. So we're trying to deliver that. Again, more concessions on the party deck, adding more opportunities for students to hopefully not stand in crazy long lines like I know many of you have done on many occasions. This is just kind of the overhead view of this is what an architect would look at. It's not really that exciting, but I think what it shows you is this space is huge. It's large, lots of restrooms, lots of concessions. All right, so this is where it gets really interesting, where you start to see what the difference is. Today, in our concourse, you're at 1 foot per student. I don't even think that's real, because any of you that have walked through there, I don't know if you have 1 inch per student, but needless to say, you've got, according to the studies that our architects have done, today it's about 1 foot per student that's trying to get through the concourse. In this new world, 4, almost 5 feet per student that's going to be in this space. So, you're going to feel like you've got, that you can like spread out and actually breathe for a minute when you're in this space as opposed to what you have today. Restrooms, currently men's restrooms for students, 36 men's restrooms. We're going to move that to 45 men's restrooms. Most importantly, women's restrooms. Now, our architect, Populous is their name. They do stadium projects all over the country, and they said that our restroom count for women, not just students, but women across the entire stadium, was one of the worst they had ever seen. So that was one of the things we're trying to solve for, not only in the student section, but across the entire stadium. And I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the things we're doing there in a minute. But we're adding a significant number of women's restrooms. In fact, 195% increase. I don't know who came up with that number. That's pretty incredible, though. 59 women's restrooms. We should give a round of applause for that, shouldn't we? Yeah. Okay. So in addition to that, one of the things, this gives us an opportunity as we do this renovation to look at how can we make the experience better for everyone in the stadium. One of the things we've heard from students is we'd like to have the band closer to us. We want to be closer to the band. We want the band to be in the student section. And we hear from fans, we want to be able to hear the band better. So Joe Auclair, who's in the back there, and his colleague Blake have spent a lot of time with the marching band to find what is that optimal spot? Where is that spot that we could put the marching band where they'll feel like students will feel like they're a part of the experience, and you'll be able to hear them best. So you'll see that green section there, section 26, that's where we're going to move the band into that section. So they're going to be right there in the middle of the student section. It's going to really add a lot to that overall experience for all students and for band students as well. In addition to that, I'm sorry, I keep turning here. We're gonna be adding a third general admission section in the upper level. So again, adding more student seating. That'll add an additional, that's section 507, and that's going to add an additional 1,300 plus seats for students beginning in the 2027 season. So again, we recognize that enrollment here is going up. That's a really positive thing. But our number of tickets for students has not continued to increase. We're taking a big step forward by adding 1,300, and then obviously you've got that party deck. But hopefully we can get even more than that as we look to 2027. I feel like I kind of did that really fast, but I know you'll have a lot of business to get done, so I don't want to belabor it too much. But more than happy to answer questions or just hear feedback. Kind of like this, kind of like that. Have y'all thought about this? Have you thought about that?
The speaker yields to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Cluj.
Yeah, great question. I should have mentioned that. $350 million. That is a huge price tag. The great news is that we're doing that through fundraised dollars. To date, we have raised a little over $160 million for this project. That's over about a 7-month period. And so we still have some time, obviously, before 2027. So we're actively pursuing those opportunities. We have a great fundraising team. Actually, Amber's husband leads that effort for us, and they do a phenomenal job. And so that's where it comes from. But also, I didn't mention before, in addition to for general fan purposes, we're widening the concourse on the west main level and on the east ground level. Again, widening those concourses and adding more restrooms and more concessions for the general fan base as well. So not only students will benefit from this, but every fan that comes into the stadium will benefit.
Are there any other questions? Senator Morgan.
Happy to. Yeah. Yeah, good question. So I'll answer it two ways. One, we have a master plan for Williams-Brice Stadium that actually will allow for additional seats to be added in the future. And so in this first phase, after this first phase, we'll go from 78 to 74,000. Our goal is to remain in that 70,000 plus range at all times. I think if you look around the country, you start to see stadiums try to add more premium seats and shrink the overall general seating capacity. But we think it's important that we keep that at a critical number, 70,000 plus. We never want to get below that number. But in this first phase, it will go down 4,000. But we have the opportunity to add some back as we go. Yeah, good question. We don't know that at this point. Yeah, we haven't studied it quite enough to get that level of detail yet.
Senator Terhune.
Yeah, it'll be a hard cover, so very protective from the elements. Yeah, you bet.
Senator Moore.
good. That's a really good question. You must have like a family member that works in construction or something like that, because most people don't know how it works. Yes, we are confident. And if actually I drove by the stadium on Sunday after our baseball game, and sure enough, there were workers out there on Sunday to ensure that that happens before the 2027 season. Immediately, as soon as our last game of the 2026 season, we're going to move to 24-hour shifts at the stadium. So you will see people working 24 hours a day on the stadium project. So there's also some things built in where there are penalties if some of those dates aren't met. In fact, when you walk into the stadium, it's pretty cool. At the construction entrance, there's a huge countdown clock to kickoff of our first home game versus Kent State. So every time that a construction worker walks in, they see that countdown and they can kind of feel that pressure to get this first part done before we kick off in 2026.
Chairperson Terhune.
Yeah, I mean, we're planning for, we'd like to do something late 2027. Because of football season, it may not work out, so it could be 2028 before you start to see some of that, but 2027, 2028, right in there.
Senator Walker. Granted. Senator Cluj.
Yeah, great question. Overwhelmingly positive. Folks have been waiting for opportunities like this, new clubs, new suites for quite some time. We had the lowest number of suites in the SEC prior to this renovation. So also you saw those restroom counts, you saw the concession increases. Those are things that fans have grown to expect when they come to a sporting event. And so being able to deliver a better experience is something they're really excited about. Now, I don't want to, completely sugarcoat it for you. There's going to be some people that are displaced from their seats through this process. And so we're working with them on a daily basis to make sure that we get them as happy as we can possibly get them. Anytime you do a project of this magnitude, we're going to have some people that are displaced. But our goal is to keep them in the stadium, keep them coming back to games.
Senator Gary.
Yeah, really good question. We are working on that daily, our event and operations team. And actually, one of the things we're doing is looking at how do we route fans differently, not only during the construction time, but maybe even in the future as well. So this opportunity kind of gives us a chance to look at the stadium as a whole, how people enter and exit the stadium. Can we get students or fans in general in the stadium in a more efficient manner? We don't have that plan fully baked yet, but it's something we're working on a daily basis. So, there's going to be some, you all experience this. You'll come to the stadium, and it's going to be different. We're probably going to be routing you a little bit different way, especially this year when there's so much construction going on. But all this will kind of work itself out by the 2027 season.
Are there any, Senator Gopel?
I hope it does not impact food prices. It seems like there's lots of things impacting food prices. So hopefully it won't. In fact, and I'm not naive enough to think that what we're doing will actually lower the prices, but what it will do is now food has to come in on a truck. It has to come in from an outside location. There's significant labor that goes into that whole process. We're going to be able to speed that up by cooking it on site. Should be more fresh, should be warmer in the case of food that needs to be warmer. So Can't promise better prices, but hopefully you got a better product.
Senator Young?
Right, yeah, obviously for students, there won't be any price impact because there's no cost as of today. But there will be some cost increases in our suites, in our clubs, in some of our general seating area, you'll see a price increase. Those are normal increases. However, we've been kind of on this steady increase in terms of our cost each year. And we do that on purpose as to not just shock people, you know, one year, all of a sudden, we're going to go up by 10%. We have a very steady increase, which is 2 to 4%, that now our season ticket holders have grown to expect and they can plan for, as opposed to kind of doing this one-shot significant increase.
Are there any other questions? Senator Cluj?
We got a job for you. You can come sell some new opportunities. Absolutely. In fact, our multimedia rights contract, which is an outside partner that comes in and sells all those sponsorship opportunities, that contract is up in the next year. And so we're going to be able to take advantage of that contract being up and all these new opportunities inside the stadium, new video boards, new club spaces where advertising can go up. So absolutely, we expect significant increases on the sponsorship side in the coming years.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us today.
Thanks, appreciate it.
We are now in line for general orders of the Senate, beginning with reports from Senate leadership. Are there any representatives present? I'll speak on this really quick. Rules Committee met at their normal time Sunday at 5:30. We went over SBL 11815. It was found unanimously favorable. I yield my time to questions. Seeing none. We will now hear a report from the Academics Committee. Chairman Seitler, you are recognized.
Hello, everyone. Academics met at 6 p.m. Monday. We had no legislation to review. And aside from that, we just received updates from the Secretary of Academics and talked about our long-term plan going into the summer and the fall, the ideas and initiatives. But aside from that, I yield my time to questions.
Are there any, the Senator yields his time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Finance Committee. Are there any representatives present? Vice Chairman Roach, you are recognized to speak.
Thank you. So we met at our regular time at 3:30 on Friday. We just had a quick discussion with reminders about our student org funding town hall that was held on Monday that Student Body Treasurer Tommy Spurgeon will talk about later on in his update. The committee members had a chance to ask him some questions, so we talked some about student org requirements and communication with the LSC on that, and also about the Garnet Gate transition that's coming up in next year. And other than that, it was just kind of a quick meeting. But does anybody yield my time to questions?
The Vice Chairman yields his time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. We will now hear a report from the Health and Safety Committee. Chairwoman Cumby, you are recognized.
Hi, everyone. We didn't meet last week because I wasn't here. Instead, everyone researched different initiatives that they wanted to bring into fruition, hopefully circa fall. But we'll be meeting after Senate today. I'm super excited to talk about that. I yield the question.
The Chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Judiciary Committee. Chairman Kunkel, you are recognized.
Good evening. So we met last night at 7 o'clock, and we went over 3 pieces of legislation. One was about delegation members and chairperson reform, which was was amended in committee, but then ultimately found unfavorable. We then reviewed SBL 11814, which would amend the requirements for the agendas that committees have before the journal is published, and that was found favorable with amendment. And then we also reviewed SBL 11816, which was more delegation-related legislation, specifically
adding attendance for delegations to count just like it would for regular committees or for sessions, which was found unanimously unfavorable. Aside from that, we talked about some of the carried over legislation that's coming up today, so I'm sure you'll see me a good bit, unfortunately. But we talked about some of that, and we reminded everyone of the Let's Clear the Air event. And with that, I give it time to questions.
Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Liberties and Representations Committee. Chairwoman Sams, you are recognized.
Hi everyone, the committee met last Thursday at 5:15. Unfortunately, I was not able to be there, so it was led by our lovely Vice Chair Blair. Chairman Sightler was also present, which was really great, and they discussed some of the collaboration efforts we've been doing, specifically on accessibility, and there was a survey we sent out to Carolina Life about accessibility concerns. Next week, not next week, tomorrow actually, we plan on discussing more legislation ideas. Vice Chair Ware is talking to some residents about their opinions on campus accessibility, and we're also hoping to send out a survey at the beginning of next semester about how student orgs feel they're being represented on campus. So, with that, I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Chairwoman Losery, you are recognized.
Hi everyone. Powers met Thursday, Sunday, and Tuesday. We met Thursday. I wasn't able to attend, but we interviewed Rain Dice, and she was found unanimously favorable. And then we also interviewed Jacob Wisnett, and he was found unfavorable with the votes of 3 no's to 1 yes. And then on Tuesday, we also interviewed Robert Albatel, and he was found unfavorable with the votes of 3 no's to 1 yes. And with that, I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Student Life Committee. Chairman Terhune, you are recognized.
Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. We met yesterday at our normal time, 5 p.m. in the LSC. We had no pieces of legislation to go over, but we spent a good period of time brainstorming for the summer. After meeting 2 weeks ago with Blake from Athletics, I'm going to personally spend some time reaching out over the summer to see how we can continue to improve the ticketing and student attendance issues we're facing for next year. Beyond that, I talked about a possible initiative working with LSC staff to improve the student org fair for the start of next semester. And then lastly, worked with my committee to ensure they know the legislative process and encourage them to work on a few pieces over the summer and reach out and how to advocate properly with Cross Branch and people in university administration. With that, I yield to any questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Sustainability Committee. Chairwoman Modica, you are recognized.
Hi, everyone. We met on Monday at 5:30. We had no legislation to go over, but we were just kind of talking about the goals we had for the summer to possibly have, start sending out emails to faculty and administration to have information to eventually write legislation about. So kind of just setting goals, and we're going to check in twice over the summer just to hold everyone accountable for writing legislation. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The chairwoman yields her time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Freshman Council. Are there any representatives present? Seeing none. We will now hear a report from the Constitutional Council. Are there any representatives present? Seeing none. We will now hear a report from the Speaker of the Student Senate. I recognize myself. Hey guys, last Senate session. Hopefully everyone's doing good. We made it through. Thank you so much for all your hard work so far. I know it's been a lot with the orientations, the training, and just getting to know all the ropes of everything. But you guys have genuinely been doing so awesome. Just a reminder, your committees do not technically have to meet until next semester unless you guys do have some unfinished business, or if you guys decide to meet just unofficially and hang out for one more last time for the semester. I wanted to put it all on your radars that our first Speak Up with Senate initiative will be next semester in September during Civility Week on September 16th from 11 to 2 on Green Street. This is going to be a different format than the rest of the initiative. For the first one, we're just going to do all of Senate together. So all senators will be on Green Street. We will get into that a lot more when the time comes, but wanted to put that on your radar. That will be an attendance or an absence forgiveness event. Speaking of absence forgiveness events, Let's Clear the Air is going to be on Friday from 12 o'clock to 3. It would be really awesome if we can get some Senate representation there. And if you do and you send proof to Annalisa that you were there and you helped out, you get an attendance forgiveness. So one of your unexcused absences will be wiped out. If you don't have any excused absence or unexcused absences, you will have a credit for one. And that's all I've got. I yield my time to questions. Senator Ryan. Granted. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for a report from the student body treasurer. Treasurer Tommy Spurgeon, you are recognized.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to tell you guys about first week in office. Many of the discretionary roles have been redesigned and filled. After tonight, when they're read and then sworn in the future, every one of those positions will be filled going into the summer, so we're ready to get a lot of work done. I'll tell you about some of them. One of the ones that I'm most excited for is the director of organizational experience. This is one individual whose entire purpose is to learn where organizations are frustrated with the process and how we can improve it, continuously monitoring throughout the entire year ways that we can be better and better reach all of the orgs. We'll also have a couple of analysts join the team who are going to help us find data-driven solutions to problems that we come up with and solve. About town hall on Monday. We didn't have a super high turnout, but I think it went very well overall. We had a very good discussion between organizations on the entire funding process and how they can best use it for their orgs. Got lots of good feedback on ideas and things that can be implemented. And even though it wasn't the greatest turnout, we're going to stay very persistent with this and find as many ways to communicate and reach orgs as possible. Hopefully in the next semester we can try different times and different styles. Maybe we do virtual ones, so anyone who's not around can still join. But plan to see is much more outreach and trying to communicate with as many orgs as we possibly can. Any other questions?
The treasurer yields to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Villareza. Granted. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for a report from the student body vice president. Vice President Myron Harris, you are recognized.
Good evening, everyone. Quick updates for me. Core survey tabling day 1 went really well. Thank you all for those that came out. We have another one on Friday, 11 to 2 on Davis Field, please. Kind of like Speaker Kiki said, Speaker Diapolito said, excuse me. You guys do have attendance forgiveness if you come out to Let's Clear the Air. Please come out to Let's Clear the Air. Senate representation is important. You guys write important legislation, and you guys can get those ideas there. And then lastly, safety walk went extremely well. Thank you for all those who came. I've only heard good things from USC PD and facilities. I yield the questions.
The vice president yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for a report from the student body president. Student body president Cole Rotundo, you are recognized.
Hey everyone. Happy last Senate. Y'all made it. Very proud of all of you. I just wanted to take a moment and thank the following graduating senior senators. Bradley Gittens, Matthew Fry, Lester Lewis, and Tyler Morgan. I don't think I missed anybody, but congratulations. I hope your time at Carolina was great. Thank y'all for being here and helping students. It's always appreciated. So we will miss you, but best of luck in your future endeavors. Speaking of athletics and Williams, Bryce, Myron and I are actually taking, and Kiki and Tommy, I believe now, are taking a hard hat tour of that renovation tomorrow morning. So we will report back with any good stuff we hear. I'm really excited about that. even more excited about the fact that we have a first aid pilot program on Sunday with Campus Recreation. So we partnered with Chris Washington and Campus Rec to get this going. We're going to be certifying 30 students, and they will be learning first aid, CPR, AED, choking response, and tourniquet use. So there's an online portion of that, and then they'll come in, I think it's from 9 to 12:30 for that in-person component. So really excited to get some students certified, and hopefully this is a program that we can continue with Campus Rec, because there was a very big interest, bigger than I thought, for this program. Shout out to Reethi and Shruti for all the hard work they did on this, especially Reethi, who is our former Secretary of Health and Wellbeing. She's been working on this for like 3 months. She poured a lot of time and effort into it, so all credit to her. And then Reethi, who is our new Secretary of Health and Wellbeing, she was able to jump right in and keep the ball rolling on that, so it was successful. I would also like to shout out Bryce Graham, who is my Director of Legislative Affairs. Bryce is right over here. He's going to be someone that y'all will work with very closely. He's kind of like the liaison between Senate and Cabinet and the President's branch. And every once in a while, if I'm not able to make it here, he'll be giving my update to you all. So please use him as a resource. He's great. And I'm looking forward to y'all having a good relationship with him going forward. I do have my first Board of Trustees meeting this Friday, which is unfortunate timing with Let's Clear the Air, so I won't be able to be there. However, Graham will be representing me in the President's branch. We're going to have staff there. We're going to have cabinet there. And I would encourage, as an overall suggestion, share those survey results with each other. I think it would be great if we put all those results into one central folder within the team so that everybody can view it. Because if academics is doing a survey in Senate and we're also doing it in cabinet, why not just combine forces and do one? And the sharing of information is always a good thing. So I will also be here over the summer. I know this is the last Senate session, but work does not stop in the summer. Let me know if you guys want to collaborate. I'm always open to a Teams call. I will be here. And just looking forward to continuing that communication over the summer. And then we can come back in the fall and get right back to it. So I yield my time to questions.
The president yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for special orders of the Senate. Are there any letters, petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the office of the Speaker of the Student Senate concerning the resignations and conditional resignations of Ryan Daly, Bradley Giddens, Jeremiah Palmer, Lester Lewis, and Matthew Fry from the position of Student Senator.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
Election of the Speaker Pro Tempore of the Student Senate.
We are now in line for the election of the Speaker Pro Tempore of the Student Senate. The floor is now open for nominations. Are there any nominations? Senator Talaka? Senator Ward has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Senator Lewis? Senator Young has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Senator Terhune? Chairwoman Losery has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, the floor is now closed for nominations. Senator Ward, you are recognized to speak.
Fellow Senators, my name is Peyton Ward, and I'm excited to be running as your next Speaker Pro Tempore. I want to start off by thanking soon-to-be graduate Speaker Pro Tempore Fry for his work and support. It's been an honor to get to know you. Thank you for your genuine kindness and guidance. You've inspired me to work hard and become more involved in student government. Tonight, I want to express my enthusiasm about stepping up and serving you all. So why should you vote for me? First, although I may be relatively new to student government, I am not new to listening, organizing, and getting the job done. I have had over 3 years of mock government experience, particularly in the YMCA Youth in Government program, in which I have pursued on the state and national level. In this pursuit, I was able to pass legislation, preside over a Senate session, just like this one, and engage in civil discourse with peers across the nation. It's safe to say that this is something that I absolutely love to do. So, how will I serve you? The role of Speaker Pro Tempore is to support the speaker and help ensure our sessions run smoothly, efficiently, and fairly. This role maintains organization, reliability, and connection. I'm confident that if elected, I will make this role my priority and support you all to the absolute best of my ability. I pledge to step forward in leadership that ensures all of you are heard and treated with respect regardless of disagreement. My leadership style is one that prioritizes the task at hand, meeting that deadline or procedure, but most importantly, connecting with my peers in the process. I hold a core value that we are always people before we are politics. Whether we are in session or out in our daily lives, on campus or on summer break, you can count on me to be an advocate for the productivity and unity of the Senate. Second, I want to ask you all a question. What do you think when you think of student government? When you think of the Senate? When you think of us? I think of possibility. We are all here because we believe in the possibility of this university. Possibility thrives when people feel safe, included, and empowered. In a time where partisanship and division like to creep up on us, it's important to remember, no matter your experience level, college, or viewpoint, you deserve to be heard and taken seriously in this space. I believe that if we're organized, respectful, and focused on the task at hand, we will have a great, positive impact on the student body. Lastly, I want to end with this quote from former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. We don't accomplish anything in this world alone, and whatever happens is the result of the whole tapestry of one's life and all the weavings of individual threads from one to another that creates something. That is what I want to advocate for in this role. When electing anyone, it's important to remember these words. As student senators, we can continue to make a lasting impact, not just by individual work, not just by our own initiatives, but the work we can do together and as a whole that is met with respect, patience, and compromise. With these values further advocated for, I have a strong confidence that we can continue to grow USC as senators. As one of your candidates, I stand firm in my dedication to hard work and value in community. My name is Peyton Ward, and I want to represent you as your Speaker Pro Tempore. I would greatly appreciate your vote tonight, and I'm open to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Ward. Really quick, guys, please be respectful and look up off your phones and computers. That would be highly appreciated. Thank you, Senator Ward. Senator Young, you are now recognized to speak.
Hey guys, it's my pleasure to be up here and speak before you guys. So for those of you who may not know me, my name is Noah Young, and while this is my first term in student government, this is not my first experience with something like this in student government. During high school, actually, I served on the advisory board for my local high school, serving over 3,000 students and working alongside the administration to try to improve how the school ran and also pass several legislations and things, improving such things as, and setting up actually, AI guidelines, plagiarism, and actually revamping a whole system for accessing additional resources for classes and the entire college. In addition to that, I am a sophomore in the Molina Rowley College of Engineering and Commuting as an aerospace engineer. Now, beyond that, for the real role of Speaker Pro Tempore, I may be new, but I've been definitely reading through the codes a lot and learning those things, and will continue to read through the entire codes, the rules of procedure, and the speaker's manual over the summer. Just why not? A fun summer project. But I think student government does a great job, and its purpose to serve the student body is very important. And I think we need to continue the excellent work that we have done. I know serving on Powers Committee, I have been truly blessed to work alongside some very fine senators and learn a lot from them. So I would really, as Speaker Pro Tempore, want to build upon those things and continue to improve collaboration, communication, and just the inner workings. I think were I to be elected, I would want to start talking with current executive members, some senior staff and senators, and learn about their positions, not just Speaker Pro Tempore, but every area, to be there as a resource, to really bring a new, fresh, unbiased perspective to things, and to really serve as a great resource for any senators who have questions, need anything. I know a big role of Speaker Pro Tempore is also to serve alongside committees and delegations, so being knowledgeable about those. I know delegations is something we'll discuss later on, but in whatever form that looks like, definitely being there, being intimately involved so that I can be able to serve them best in any way possible. I definitely want to see the student government flourish and the student body to benefit a lot. And I think there's a lot of good to do there. And I want to work towards that to continue to improve student government as best as I am able to. So thank you for your time. And I think we only have good candidates. So whoever gets elected, I think we will be well served.
Thank you, Senator Young. Chairwoman Loosry, you are now recognized to speak.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lena Loosry, and I'm an international business and accounting major and a Spanish minor, and this is my second term serving on Senate. One of the things I love the most about being a student senator is the passion in this room. How each of us is committed to building a better student body and showing up for the people we represent. Being surrounded by that kind of dedication is what inspired me to take on a larger role within Senate, ultimately leading me to serve on the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. And now, as I'm in my second term as a chairperson, that role has become incredibly meaningful to me. Throughout this position, I flourished in my role, working closely with leadership to strengthen and improve how we evaluate and support our senators. I've assisted in developing and implementing standardized questioning documents and rubrics to ensure that each and every applicant has a fair and just process with impartiality. I've also helped my committee members grow into their roles, especially in learning how to confidently interview applicants and take on a greater responsibility within Senate. Throughout these experiences, I've discovered a genuine passion for my work. One of the most meaningful parts of my role has been witnessing newly sworn-in senators take their oath of office, seeing their excitement, their motivation, and their commitment to being part of something bigger than themselves. And that energy is what drives me. It's also what has pushed me to not only continuously participate in Senate, but to understand and contribute to its function in a meaningful way. As chairwoman of the Powers and Responsibilities Committee, I've gained firsthand experience with the internal functions of Senate, a big part of being the Speaker Pro Tempore, how we evaluate, support, and develop each and every of our members. A big part of also being a Speaker Pro Tempore is supporting the Speaker and leadership. And I'm working and have worked closely with our Speaker of the Student Senate, helping to implement systems that guide our processes and supporting my peers into stepping into their leadership roles. Beyond Senate, I've taken on other executive positions, like being vice president of a pre-law fraternity, that strengthened my ability to lead administratively, collaborate, and manage responsibilities with organization, hard work, and accountability. These experiences have prepared me to take on the responsibilities of Speaker Pro Tempore with both confidence and intention. This is a passion of mine in which I'm dedicated to serving, both throughout the Senate terms and through the summer with our advisory committee. For that reason, I would be honored to serve as your Speaker Pro Tempore I'm committed to supporting this body and each and every one of you, strengthening the Senate operations and continuing to foster the same passion that makes Senate so impactful. We are in this together. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chairwoman Lusri. We will now move to a roll call vote on the nominations. The clerk will call the roll. Please state the last name of the senator you wish to vote for. Just a reminder, the senators running are Senator Ward, Young, and Lusri. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson, Venegas, Coleman, Kopp, Copeland, Colleton, Cumby, DeLorenzo, Gary, Giddens, Gopel, Hargrave, Holbert, Luge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Lusri, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Peterson, Bourget, Primus, Ramkison, Roach, Rostam, Ryan, Sams, Zeitler, Terhune, Taloka, Villariza, Ward, Witherspoon, Young.
With a vote of 6, 14 to 17, there is no simple majority. We will now be going into a roll call vote of the top two contenders. Senator Lewis? Of names for, Senator Young, 6, Senator Ward, 14, Chairwoman Lusri, 17. Senator Lewis? No. It is not in the rules of, it's not in the procedure of how, how the Speaker Pro Tempore election goes. They just get up to speak, and then the next nominee gets up to speak, and we go in that order, and then we vote. That would not be a today thing. That would be an amendment to our rules of procedure. Awesome. We will now move into a roll call vote. We will now move into a roll call vote on the top two nominations. The clerk will call the roll. Please state the last name of the senator you wish to vote for, either Senator Ward or Chairwoman Lusri. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson, Venegas, Coleman, Kopp, Copeland, Colleton, Cumby, DeLorenzo, Gary, Giddens, Gopel, Hargrave, Holbert, Kluge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Lusri, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Peterson, Bourget, Primus, Ramperson, Roach, Boston, Ryan, Sams, Zeitler, Terhune, Toloka, Villariza, Ward, Witherspoon, Young,
With a vote of 18 for Ward and 20 for Losery and 1 abstention, Chairwoman Losery is now Speaker Pro Tempore Losery. Congratulations. To clarify, it's you win by majority of senators present, so she had majority present, not in office. Just wanted to make sure everyone was clear with that. I just double checked our codes. Senator Hargrave. Granted. Sorry. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the office of the Speaker of the Student Senate concerning the conditional resignation of Lena Losery from the position of Powers and Responsibilities Chair.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other?
A communication from the office of the Speaker of the Student Senate concerning the resignation of Daria Korapati from the position of legislative aide.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Speaker Pro Tempore concerning the nomination of delegation chairs. Misha Coleman, College of Social Work. Gavin Primus, Arnold School of Public Health. Addison Moore, College of Nursing. Peyton Ward, McCausland College of Arts and Sciences. Jamela Ward, Millie Neroli, College of Engineering Computing. Hannah Gary, College of Education.
The question is of the nomination of delegation chairs en bloc. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed. The ayes have it, the delegation chairs are approved. Congratulations. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the office of the Student Body Treasurer concerning the following resignations. Daniel Violet from the position of Chief of Staff. Houston Hughes from the position of Deputy Chief of Staff. Jasper Ryan from the position of Legislative Liaison. Delaney Williams from the position of Deputy Press Secretary. Emma Strickland from the position of Chief Advisor.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the office of the Student Body Vice President concerning the resignation of Matt Kent as a programming team member and Samantha Johnson as a communications team member.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the office of the Student Body Vice President concerning the appointments of the following positions. Programming team member and comms team member.
Received. Senator Morgan. Granted. We are now in line continuing on with the special orders of the Senate. Are there any letters, petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the office of the Speaker of the Student Senate concerning the nomination of Ben Roach as chair of the Finance Committee.
The question is of the nomination of Senator Roach as Finance Chair. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Senator Roach is now Chairman Roach. We are now in line for, congratulations. We are now in line for special orders of the Senate. Are there any letters, petitions, applications, appointments, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the office of the Speaker of the Student Senate concerning the appointment of all student senators to the Summer Advisory Committee.
Reminder, attendance does not count for the summer advisory committee. The question is of the approval of summer advisory committee assignments. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed. The ayes have it, the committee assignments are approved. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Student Senate concerning delegation assignments. Rain Dice, Darla Moore School of Business.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Student Senate concerning committee assignments. Rain Dice, Student Life and Finance Committees.
The question is of the approval of committee assignments. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed. The ayes have it, the committee assignments are approved. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
Applications of Jacob Weisnett and Haley Poulter to be seated in the 118th Student Senate.
The applications are referred to the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Student Body Treasurer regarding comptroller nominations. Benjamin Ashley and Kaylin Conway.
The nominees are referred to the Finance Committee. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Student Body Treasurer concerning the appointment and creation of staff positions. Deputy Chief of Staff, Director of Data Analytics, Director of Policy Analytics, Director of Organizational Experience, and Director of System Optimization.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Student Body Treasurer concerning the appointment of staff positions. Chief of Staff and Press Secretary.
Received. Seeing no more special orders of the Senate, we are now in line for the motion period. Are there any motions on the floor at this time? Chairwoman Losery? There's been a motion to confirm Rain Dice to the position of student senator. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. Rain Dice is now confirmed as a student senator. Senator Losery? There's been a motion to suspend the rules to allow Senator Dice to take her oath of office. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. The rules are now suspended. Rain, you can come up and our Speaker Pro Tempore will administer the oath of office. Is there a motion to reinstate the rules? Without objection, so ordered. Yeah, Rain, you can now sit in the middle. And just a reminder, you were put onto Finance and Student Life Committee. This would be the time to motion in and out. Senator Holbert? Granted. Chairman Kunkel? Does the sponsor find this friendly or unfriendly? Friendly. Amendment 1 has been added to SBL 11815. Chairman Kunkel. There's been a motion to add Amendment 1 to SBL 11814. Does the sponsor find this friendly or unfriendly? Amendment 1 has been added to SBL 11814. Senator Moore. There's been a motion to appoint Senator Roach as Senator's Moore proxy. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Moore. Granted. Chairwoman Cumby. There's been a motion to add Amendment 2 to SBL 11811. Is there a second? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Does the sponsor find this friendly or unfriendly? 11. The sponsor finds this friendly. Amendment 2 is now added to SBL 11811. Senator Dice. There's been a motion to remove Senator Dice from the Student Life Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Gopel. Not this session because they're conditional, so they'll count next session. Are there any other motions on the floor at this time? Senator Lewis? There's been a motion to limit debate for 5 minutes per person on all debate on the first or second reading calendar. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. Debate is now limited to 5 minutes per person. Are there any other? Senator Young. There's been a motion to add Amendment 1 to SBL 11807. Is there a second? I'm sorry, does the sponsor of 07 find this friendly or unfriendly? The Amendment 1 has been added to SBL 11807. Senator Coleman. Granted. Are there any other motions on the floor at this time? Seeing none. Is there a motion to dispense of the motion period? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We are now in line for the call. We are now in the call of the introduction of new legislation. The clerk will now read. Hearing none, that completes the call of new legislation. We are now in the call of the uncontested calendar. The clerk will now read. SBL 118-115. Oh, sorry, Jeff.
SBL 11815, Amendment 1 to the 118th Students Senate Rules of Procedure.
I recognize myself to speak on the legislation. So this rules of procedure has been updated a little bit. The amendment that has been added to it is to flip the first and second reading calendar. In normal, like in Robert's Rules of Procedure and normal procedures, you usually go with general orders and unfinished business and then go into new business. So this is just kind of following that outline. So we would finish up the second reading calendar before we go to the first reading calendar each session instead of introducing new business and then going back to last week's old business. Other than that, most of the amendment to the rules of procedure is just aligning our motions to Robert's Rules of Procedure, making sure all the language is correct. Same with the votes required for that language, as well as making sure it aligns with our codes. I believe that is all. I yield my time to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none. We will now move to a voice vote on the legislation. All those in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Continuing on with the call of the uncontested calendar, the clerk will now read. Hearing none, that completes the call of uncontested legislation. We are now in line for the call of contested legislation. The clerk will now read.
SBL 11807, a bill to create rules and regulations for delegation chairpersons.
Senator Lewis and co-sponsors, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Yeah, good evening. This is a pretty simple one. I think that, I'm going to talk about the context of the bill. It's giving like more context and more understanding to delegation role. I believe that if delegations are going to stay in the codes, I think it needs to have more structure for it. You are elected from colleges, so I think that it's only fair and it's only respectful that you hold delegation meetings, that you go back to your colleges and allow those students to come and be part of that you hold initiatives and you hold things like that. So it gives that. It also outlines the requirements set forth, a delegation role like that. I yield my time to what?
Yeah. So this is the one also I proposed an amendment, which didn't really change too much, just clarified some language on what initiatives and events would be defined as, just so that there wouldn't be as much ambiguity there. I see this bill as a really great opportunity to especially reach the student body, since delegations would have a greater ability to dig into their colleges, while also I think that would be great to have coordination and cooperation within delegations. So like kind of keeping some of the language a little bit vague intentionally so that
Hey everyone, so I wanted to call your attention to one part that is of concern. I think that the sponsors do a great job of trying to make delegations more impactful, but I do question if this is the correct way to do it with regard to at least one provision of the bill. Specifically, it's requiring that delegations hold at least one initiative. There are some delegations that are quite large that could easily accommodate this sort of requirement. The Arts and Sciences School is an example, the Engineering School is an example, Darla Moore. All these have enough people on their delegation that they can easily hold an initiative. Others are much smaller. For example, the College of Social Work or Carolina Life delegation. These have, in some cases, one senator that would be expected to hold an event of equal standard to the ones with the very large colleges. And to me, that seems untenable, and that seems like it's putting a lot on even one or two people to do the same thing. And I don't think, we all hold ourselves to a very high standard of excellence. I don't think we could say, oh, well, it's fine. We don't have to be as good or as big. I think all delegations should serve their constituents equally as well. And so we can't expect two people or one person to hold the same level of an event as a very large college. So I think that's something to consider. One part of the compromise that I believe was in the amendment was the idea that these events should be done in collaboration with each other. And I think that's a great idea, although I would point your attention to events like Speak Out with Senate. That is a cross-delegation event where people from all across the Senate all collaborate, form what constituents want. It's a collaboration. And so it seems to me that we had that sort of thing happening already from the speaker, that delegation initiatives should serve the delegations themselves. So if I'm an Arts and Sciences senator, my initiative shouldn't be one that's in collaboration with everyone else. It should be one that serves my constituents specifically in the Arts and Sciences school. And it would be the same thing for any other delegation. So it seems to me that if we allow them to collaborate, that sort of defeats the purpose, and the speaker could just have that be arranged. And it seems that if we don't allow them to collaborate, or just require it in general, that puts a lot of strain on the really small delegations. And so those are two things I really want to point your attention to. I think that some of the other provisions in this bill are pretty good. For example, I think a monthly meeting is nothing wrong with that. But I do think that the initiative section in particular is really concerning because burdens some of our senators in the body to a great extent, and that's why I overall oppose this bill, though I do laud the three individuals that sponsored it for their work, and I'm encouraging them to do something similar in the future. I yield to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Senator Young?
Yes, I believe I would.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Is there any other senator wishing to speak on this piece? Senator Lewis.
Yeah, let me just start off by saying this, is that this does several pieces of things. We had a conversation about this, and I think that, how dare you say you can't hold a meeting, a once a month meeting or an initiative for your students of the college that elect you. I found that very disrespectful. But the legislation, it fixes very key things. It gives the delegation structure, it gives expectation, and it gives it a quality standard. And I don't think that's too much hard to ask for. I don't think it's unreasonable because standing committees, we meet once a week, not once a month. We meet once a week, and some committees are meeting 2 and 3 times a week. And I think you're getting there. You're not really complaining about those meetings. I think, and I will also add that, the question and the concern is brought up about the smaller delegations. That is, that may be a concern, but that has nothing to do with delegations. That is how our Constitution is written, of how we give each college a number of seats. If you want to give other colleges other seats, change the Constitution and give colleges other seats. But you can't just say, this is one problem, oh, we're going to put it onto this other piece because we got problems over here. Just because your grass is not cut don't mean I don't have to cut my grass. That's not how things work. So I think we should be reasonable and responsible in this and just think about it. We heard 3 speeches today from 3 candidates to be Speaker Pro Tems. Not one mentioned delegations. And currently in the codes, they serve over delegations. So if this doesn't pass, what's going to happen with delegations? Are we going to keep it? Are we not going to continue not showing up? I mean, if we don't want delegations, I'm more in favor of getting rid of it, but something has to be done. Either give it structure or take it out completely. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The senator yields his time to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Gittens.
If you look at the legislation, it's really defined. I think it's really defined in the legislation of what it would be. But also, I would add this too, is that when we talked about this, I said that, yeah, this is giving structure for delegations, but we also could develop a rules of procedure operating guideline for the delegations. And, that was just, really too much, I think, for the Judiciary Committee.
Are there any, Chairman Kunkel?
Can you restate the question, please? Yeah, I'm more aware of that. And I think, when me and you both met, I told you, I said, at Judiciary, if that's going to be a hinder, we can take it out. There was never a time we discussed about taking it out. I was more in favor of taking out the initiative part, and that was going to be hold up of giving good structure to delegations. If it was so hard for senators to do initiatives.
Are there any other, Senator or Chairwoman Modica? There is 1 minute left of this debate period.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, that is a concern. But, not being disrespectful when I say, though, is that being a student senator, you are a student leader on campus. So I believe that it comes with dedication, it comes with time commitments that you have to give. Our student body president, Cole, he doesn't have a set schedule. He may be 20 hours one week, the next week maybe 40 hours. You have to go to meet the needs of the students, which you were elected to do.
Are there, Senator Cruz, you have 10 seconds.
Yes, that's what I suggested. We get a framework and
5
then we
minutes
can
has
give
come.
details and further later on
All right,
down the road.
Senator Lewis, we have hit 5 minutes. Is there anyone else? Senator Young. Senator Villaraiza. Granted.
Yeah, so I'll keep this short so we don't have to keep deliberating on it. I just want to clarify a few things. So I know that Chairman Kunkel he discussed a little bit about collaboration, and yes, that would definitely want to be a huge part of it because I know it's a great big concern and something we discussed on smaller delegations and the struggle for them maybe to host the initiative. So in the bill, it is left a little bit vague on what defines an initiative so that there is a lot of leeway so that you don't have to have like, oh, these hard structures and whatnot, and especially so that there can be collaboration. I know he mentioned Speak Up with Senate, which I think is great, and whether hosting more events like that and stuff, could that just be redundant? And I'd say I don't think there's an issue with having multiple events like that. That would just increase our ability to reach out to students. And I think that also he mentioned about having delegations like only for their college. And while I think that's great to be able to have that primary focus, I think being able to reach out to other colleges is also really important. I know a lot of the issues that impact one college likely impact another. And maybe there might be an issue that impacts only 2 colleges or something. So the delegations would be able to work that out a little quicker maybe than the overall Senate. And I think these initiatives, hopefully, right now, I think the thought is to have it per semester, 1 per semester, but I don't know if that's fully defined. So I'm willing to work on that because we don't want it too much. But also to have those events just to increase more participation with the student body, get more information out there, and hopefully bring more people in. I know we had some great ideas on what these delegation initiatives could look like, and I think a great thing would be delegations even to coordinate, like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this event. If you want to host a similar thing, here's the what I did to plan it, and to try to help and especially ease that burden on some smaller colleges. So I yield my time to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Gary.
Yes, certainly. That's actually part of the amendment I proposed, was so that it would be defined as it has to be hosted and organized by that person. So it does not preclude it from being hosted by multiple delegation chairs. You just have to play a part in hosting and organizing it, take minutes, and I think submit some sort of written report within 10 days of the initiative. So you have that time also to do some of those things.
Are there any other questions? Senator Bryan.
Yeah, definitely that's something could be addressed, but that is what I was referencing about 1 semester was the thought.
Chairman Roach.
I have not yet, although that is a great idea.
Chairwoman Modica. We are at 1 minute left.
Yeah, I definitely see. I think that you can motion into a different delegation and put yourself there. Also, if you're just part of it, you would help with the delegation chair and be on that end, but you wouldn't necessarily have to host all of these on your own. We would not want anyone to have to do that, and try to provide as much support for a lot of these things. And I think it's this could be a short-term thing, see how it goes also, and totally open to making recommendations. But I think it's a great template, especially since if it's 1 a semester, we could also readdress it in the fall, like have a ton of time. And I don't think it has to be a ton right now. That's why it's intentionally vague for a lot of those things.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this topic? Chairman Terhune. Chairwoman Sams? There's been a motion to appoint Chairwoman Cumby as Chairwoman Sams proxy. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Chairwoman Sams. Granted. Senator Walker. Granted. Senator Young. There's been a motion to make Senator Lewis Senator Young's proxy. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Young. Granted. Senator Roach. Granted. Chairman Terhune, you are recognized.
Thank you so much. Can I keep it brief? I just want to say that, in my opinion, this bill is a piece of legislation that's trying to push needless bureaucracy on this body. As of right now, everything that this bill is outlining for these delegations to do, these meetings, these events, are all possible with our current system. Delegation chairs are elected, delegations are in place. Delegation chairs can choose to have a meeting as often as they feel is necessary to have events, to push legislation, to do all of these things that are being listed in this. With this requirement, you're adding another level of almost a barrier between trying to get these events done on a Senate-wide level versus a level for individual delegations. If you want to do something, talk to your delegation chair to have a meeting and have it done. Adding this level is going to make it more difficult for the speaker and her staff to get events done throughout Senate. It's going to bring up issues with how often and the effort put into these events, because a monthly event or trying to tack their name onto an event that maybe a delegation doesn't necessarily put a lot of work in for, but it would count as their delegation event, would kind of just go against the whole point of this system. To move forward and try to put these events for delegations, putting it in the hands of, putting it in the hands of these delegations would make it more difficult for events to happen throughout branches and throughout different areas. If you want to talk on bureaucracy about current committees and how that's an issue, my response to that is going to be that committees serve a purpose in the legislative process that we currently have in Senate, and that is the only reason that we have for that level of bureaucracy. Beyond that, everything else is up to individual senators to do on their own behalf for the behalf of their constituents. So, I'm now open to any questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Senator Cluj.
I see that as the responsibility of senators within this body in the last 2 years. None of the senators made a forward action to hold delegation-wide events. I'm personally working on legislation that would benefit my delegation in College of Arts and Sciences. I'm looking at the Gambro roof patio. With that piece, I'm very open to all of the arts and sciences senators meeting with me, trying to see how they can help me with that legislation and get that passed as legislation from all of us as would be done for a delegation-wide piece of legislation. I'm also open to trying to promote events that would specifically promote the College of Arts and Sciences. This issue is not an issue of whether or not it needs to be codified or not. It's an issue of practice, and the fact that it hasn't been done in practice in the past, making it required is not going to fix that issue. I just feel like it's going to bring low effort ideas and initiatives to fill these boundaries that are set by this piece to try to encourage this involvement. I think it needs to be a forward action in practice from this body to have these events happen instead of enforcing it through the codes.
Senator Copeland. The clerk will now call the roll.
Anderson, Venegas, Pullman, Kopp, Copeland, Colleton, Cumby, DeLorenzo, Dice,
Senator Dice, you are up. You are able to abstain if you aren't aware. Abstain.
Gary, Giddens, Gopel, Hargrave, Holbert, Luge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Losery, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Forget, Premise, Ramkison, Roach, Roston, Ryan, Sams,
Chairwoman Cumby. Sams.
Zeitler, Terhune, Taloka, Villariza, Ward, Witherspoon, Young,
With a vote of 6, oh, it's not. With a vote of 2 abstentions, 6 yeas, and 32 nays, the bill has been denied. Continuing on with the call of the contested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11810, a bill to amend Chapter 2 of the Student Government Codes to reform parliamentary authority, amendment process, and veto power in the Senate, and for other purposes.
Chairman Kunkel and co-sponsors, you are recognized.
All right, everyone. So this bill was explained last session. I apologize for having to depart early before it comes to a final vote. I won't relitigate everything that was said. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer those. The title of the bill touches on a lot of what this bill seeks to do, which is to reform parliamentary authority, the amendment process, and veto power in the Senate. The one thing that I do understand was of concern to senators last week, and the reason that this bill got carried over comes from Section 7, which was the amended part, which is my amendment to my own bill, and that was about the second reading calendar. What this amendment sought to do was to condense the uncontested and contested reading calendars into just 1 second reading calendar. The reason for that, and it was passed it was friendly last time. The reason for that is because we rarely ever have anything on the uncontested reading calendar, and the only reason we would have anything on there is if someone doesn't want to debate on a bill, but they do want to vote no, which almost never happens. If there's a bill that is truly uncontested, then we can do it via unanimous consent, which this body has done a couple of times already. It's a parliamentary tool that already exists. It's more simple, and I just think that it makes everything easier, and then it preserves debate on other things. Many people don't want to object, because if you're on the uncontested reading calendar, you have to actually object to be able to debate it. There might be people who don't want to do that, but they still want to talk about it. So this, lowers that, and we can debate everything. The piece that I think was of concern was that people had thought that I removed debate on legislation. That's not true. Originally in Section B, this is at the bottom of the bill, Section B 1, so that peer debate must be held prior to the vote. I struck that, but then I moved it down. So it's the same thing, but I moved it down to the new subsection B. And then I struck D, which is talking about how I don't have to be able to speak on the legislation before it's voted on, because that was duplicative and it was already in there once. So subsection B does guarantee debate, and I hope that clears up any questions. And with that, I yield the question.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none. We will now move into a roll call vote on SBL 11810. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson, Venegas, Coleman, Kopp, Copeland, Colleton, Cumby, DeLorenzo, Dice, Gary, Giddens, Gopel, Hargrave, Hodges, Holbert, Luge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Luzery, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Peterson, Bourget, Primus, Ramkison, Roach, Rostam, Ryan, Sams, Seitler, Terhune, Taloka, Villariza, Ward, Witherspoon, Young,
With 34 ayes, 0 nays, and 6 abstentions, SBL 11810 has passed. Continuing on with the call of the contested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11811, a recommendation to allow limited possession of pepper spray for lawful self-defense.
Senator Lewis and all co-sponsors are recognized. Oh, Chairman Terhune. There's been a motion to postpone SBL 11812 indefinitely. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. SBL 11812 has been postponed indefinitely.
Thank you so much. Let me just say this. This is the, let me get this out. Very special day for this recommendation, I can say that. Yeah, this recommendation is pretty simple. It is asking for allow the limited use of pepper spray for our students on campus when it comes to campus safety, when it comes to allowing that to be used. And just for the 2 weeks, it has been on our Senate calendar. I spoke with a senator from Coastal Carolina, and they thought it was a great idea. So, I talked with him and helping him write his own legislation to put it at Coastal Carolina. And hopefully Clemson's going to do the same thing along with College of Charleston, as we see fit. So I think that the policy it does not overstep anything. It does not overstep law. It does not overstep the administration. If you looked at the amendment, so I'll talk about the amendment. Some things in the amendment that was actually changed was actually Tyler actually, so it actually fitted to give the exact measurements for the legal limit you allowed to carry in South Carolina. And then with the health and safety committee, the chairperson, we talk about all sorts of things, having like a waiver for it, having like a training sessions for it, talking about maybe also trying to figure out a way how to, if you do care to athletic event, having like lockers or something for athletic event. So the possibility for this, I think, is very extreme, and I think that many students will be excited to see this, take action. So, and I'm going to let the rest of them speak on this.
Okay, so last time I spoke on this, I brought up relevant statistics to give context around this, and it's been 2 weeks, so I'm going to bring them up again. But I actually added 2 more statistics. So the most recent yearly report of crime that was committed on our Columbia campus, 10 motor vehicle thefts, 10 burglaries, 10 domestic violence incidents, 33 stalking incidents, and 17 rapes. And these are all on campus. This could have happened to me, it could have happened to anyone in this room, and that's scary. This isn't a radical policy change. It's a simple oversight that we are trying to fix to allow students the option to defend themselves. Our job is to represent the students of South Carolina, and those students should have to put themselves in a situation where they have no option to defend themselves when someone is trying to harm them. It's a simple fix. Let's represent our students the right way.
Yeah, thank you guys for the effort here, especially leading that statewide, that statewide push now. Impressive. And yeah, just little point of information, why did we amend the bill in the committee? We just wanted to be compliant with South Carolina law. Yeah, just like to take away these safety issues and safety concerns that were there reasonably as well. But yeah, the bill is good now, so would be awesome if you guys could support us in this now statewide push for more self-defense. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say I do hope this passes today. I think this is something, very exciting. If it does pass, I want to get started on, further the conversations. We already reached out to a couple people, get started on this, ASAP of getting this pushed out for the fall. With that time, we get our time of questions.
The senators yield their time to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Gittens?
The best way I can answer that question is that I have a definition of what I mean by that, but that really just be up to the university of what they're going to do. I can't speak on how the university is going to define that.
We've actually already been in touch with the USCPD, and they're going to support us with getting this further on and making more specific recommendations about this.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter? Senator Ward?
Hey everyone, I was not here when this was first introduced before. I had to leave early, but I just wanted to come up and speak up because I think that this is an incredible idea. I don't know why we were not having this conversation earlier. Self-defense is an incredibly important thing, especially on a public campus. Not only does this bill have great intent, but it's backed up very well. It's very well researched, very well presented. It has all of my support. I encourage you all to support it as well. And I yield my time to any questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we will now move to a roll call vote for SBL 118-11. The clerk will call the roll. Chairwoman Cumby. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson, Venegas, Coleman, Hop, Copeland, Fullerton, Cumby, DeLorenzo, Dice, Gary, Gittens, Gopel, Hargrave, Holbert, Kluge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Luzery, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Peterson, Bourget, Primus, Ramkison, Roach, Roston, Ryan, Sams, Zeitler, Terhune, Toloka, Villariza, Ward, Witherspoon, Young.
With a unanimous vote of aye, SBL 118-11 has passed. Continuing on with the call of the contested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 118-13, a bill to amend Chapter 2 for delegation members and chairperson reform.
Senator Lewis, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Yeah, let me just say this. This is about delegation reform. I mean, I don't, you know, it's already been made clear we're not going to do it in the delegations form, so I think it'd be appropriate during the question period, we just table this, you know, yeah, you have more time for questions.
The senator yields his time to questions. Senator Seitler? Granted. Are there any other questions? Chairman Kunkel? Okay, there's been a motion to table SBL 11813. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. SBL 11813 has been tabled. Continuing on with the call of the contested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11814, a bill to amend requirements for standing committee agendas.
Senator Lewis, you are recognized to speak.
Yeah, if you look in the codes now, it says that committees should be posting agendas, but it's a little iffy. It had an exception in there. The judiciary did pass this, with an amendment to address that. It did take out it really clarified the exemption clause that said, like, if they do meet, they shouldn't be posting that. I think that agendas are important. When students are looking, what a committee is going to talk about, they can't find it right now. So I think, if you're going to be talking about, housing or whatever you're talking about, you should be posting an agenda, put it in our OneDrive so students can, can see it and have access to it, and the members know what they're talking about to become prepared for committee meetings. With that, you have no time for questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none. We will now move into a roll call vote of SBL 11814. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson, Venegas, Coleman, Kopp, Copeland, Fullerton, Cumby, DeLorenzo, Dice, Gary, Giddens, Doppel, Hargrave, Colbert, Kluge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Illusory, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Peterson, Bourget, Premise, Ramkison, Roach, Rostam, Ryan, Sams, Seitler, Terhune, Toloka, Villariza, Ward, Witherspoon, Young.
Has everyone present voted? Senator Walker, have you voted? What is your vote on this one? Actually, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to question the quorum? I think no one proxied for you earlier, which is why you're technically not present. There's been a motion to question the quorum. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. The clerk will now call the roll. Please say present if you are here. And for your proxy.
Anderson, Venegas, Coleman, Kopp, Copeland, Culleton, Cumby, DeLorenzo, Dice, Gary, Giddens, Gopel, Hargrave, Hodges, Holbert, Kluge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Losery, Monica, Moore, Morgan, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Peterson, Forget, Primus, Ramkison, Roach, Rostam, Ryan, Sams, Seitler, Terhune, Paloka, Villariza, Walker, Ward, Ware, Witherspoon, Young.
Jones. With the quorum present, we will now continue. Senator Walker, what is your vote on SBL 11814? With a unanimous vote of aye, SBL 11814 has been passed. Continuing on with the call of the contested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11816, a bill to amend the Senate attendance policy to include delegation meetings.
Senator Lewis. There's been a motion to indefinitely. There's been a motion to postpone SBL 11816 indefinitely. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. SBL 11816 has been tabled indefinitely. Continuing on with the call of the contested calendar. Hearing none, that completes the call of the contested legislation. We are now in line for a period of open discussion. Does any senator wish to bring a matter of attention to the body? Senator Morgan.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Before I get into my remarks here, I think the clerk deserves to have a tall glass of water with all the speaking he's been doing tonight. That hasn't been lost on me. Madam Speaker, in the words of Michael Jackson's last tour, this is it. I rise today for the last time as a member of the Student Senate and as a member of student government at the University of South Carolina. What is funny is that some of you may know that I said the exact same words in my goodbye speech at the conclusion of my first stint in this body, a period I affectionately call Morgan 1. This time, I actually mean it, especially seeing that I'm graduating in the coming 2 weeks. It's certainly a bittersweet feeling, and I've spent all this week struggling to come to gripes with reality that graduation is upon me. As it can be inferred, I will be rendering my resignation to the desk effective immediately at the end of this session. With that being said, Madam Speaker, there's much for me to reflect on as I have the floor one last time. So I'm going to be up here for a minute, and y'all are going to have to bear with me. And I should also mention that this speech is meant to be sobering. Yes, there are some warm and fuzzy elements of it, but I do hope that this speech will make you guys think deeply. To start, I must say that this body is something that's very important to me. It has shaped many key memories of my college experience, the friends I made, the things I did, the things I was able to get done as a senator. I wouldn't trade that for as much as the U.S. is in debt. Now, you've all heard me mention it, but I will mention it again. I served in the 114th, 115th, 116th, and now the 118th Senates. I've served under 4 different speakers and 5 different student body presidents, and that's not something everybody can say, folks. That's not something a lot of people in this body can say. I attribute my longevity to 2 things, Madam Speaker. The first is paying close attention to your constituents and responding accordingly to their needs. In doing so, it let me build an amazing rapport with the stellar minds of the 2nd largest college at the University of South Carolina, the Darla Moore School of Business. By creating a brand that is consistent with representation, that's synonymous with transparency, initiative, and most importantly, integrity. My colleagues recognized that, and they entrusted me with three overwhelming electoral victories. To them, I am very grateful, as without them, I would not have managed to become such an institution and mainstay in this body. The second reason I attribute my longevity in this body to is the fact that I refuse to be in the pocket of any interests outside of my college, plain and simple. In doing so, I was able to act unfetteredly and legislate and act on initiatives and speak out against things that sought to bring the biggest benefit to my college. I always had a personal slogan in that I was unbought and I was unbossed. And I am proud to stand here and say before all of you that I have never, ever been beholden to any speaker, to any student body president, to any advisor, or to any other officials, something not everyone can say. In turn, I was allowed to make deals and legislate for things that were truly common sense, bringing a common sense thought to the table, a mind to the table to advocate for strong solutions. And if none of y'all believe me in attributing these rules to my success, I would respond with a question. Why have I amassed such a long tenure in this body? Why does my agenda resonate so strongly with my voters that I managed to outlast all of my opposition? Why am, to quote Elton John, why am I still standing, huh? When all of my haters, many of whom I would call out, but I won't, are not. It's because I put the needs of my people first. And I refuse to be bogged down with Senate politics. If I were to give you all any advice, as Frank Underwood would say from House of Cards, vote your conscience, vote your district. Undeniably, that is what my record of service reflects. Speaking of a record of service, let's talk about that. I was the one who edited the codes to make it easier for the councils of all Greek organizations on campus to have a more direct say in selecting their representation in the president's cabinet. Who made TCOOP open 24 hours in the lead up to exams? Oh, that was me. Who stood for more transparency from administration officials? Senator Morgan did. Who called for better BLAT hours? That was me. And yet, Madam Speaker, in seeking to put the needs of my college and the people of this university first, I have found that throughout my tenure as a senator, and this is overall we're talking about, I have unfortunately run into many, many roadblocks, a lot of opposition. And it is interesting, Madam Speaker, as I am an outgoing senator, I sit here and I reflect. You know, I genuinely don't know why. I seemingly never heard the end of people calling for student government to put forth common sense solutions. And yet when I've done that, there's a long history of my bills being voted down or stifled in committee. It's truly from what, and this is not just, I want to be very clear, Madam Speaker, this is not this term, this is in the past, overall from my time as a senator in the 114th to now. And to a certain extent, it truly was hurtful, quite honestly, especially from what I experienced personally in the 115th, but that's not limited to other terms as well. What I find angering, as I reflect on this, what I find angering about this is that, and this happened to me on multiple occasions, I would get paid lip service even when my bills would get struck down. And unfortunately, I went along with that for a few times, but I wised up after I continued to get the same message. It's not that we dislike you or your beliefs, it's just that we think now is not a good time for this. You're passionate about so many things, which is amazing. Why don't we repurpose your ideas for something else? I should also say that, you know, when I tried to speak up on certain things that I disagreed with, and there are certain matters I disagreed with, we all have disagreements, folks, and that's okay. I found that there were instances where I was attacked personally. That's unacceptable, quite honestly. And, you know, it's just like the saying, everybody wants to be an outlaw until it's time to do outlaw things, right? Everybody's up for debate until it's time to debate. Everybody's up for active student leadership until it goes against certain interests or initiatives. But to that point, y'all, to the senators who continue to serve, fight for what you believe in, even if others will hate you for it. Because at the end of the day, if you do that, you can unapologetically, you know, you don't have anything to hang your hat on. Madam Speaker, I would be remiss if I did not pay homage to those who came before me. people I admire deeply. And I stand here today.
Senator Gittens, is this an interruptible motion? There's been
Madam Speaker, point of information, this is my last speech as a senator. The Senate will not have to hear from me anymore after this.
I do have to recognize the motion.
Reclaiming my time. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Reclaiming my time. Where was I? I should say this. I would be remiss if I did not pay homage to those who came before me, people I admire deeply. I stand here today on the shoulders of giants. J.D. Jacobus, Anna Kelly, Matt Harris, Christian Phillips, Andrew Phillips, Brandon Badinsky, Maeve Smith, Trey Thacker, Ian Hurd, Chandler Calder, John Halad, and all these men and women, legends of the Senate, who have come before me. These individuals are the true difference makers, and it is they who I have sought to emulate accordingly in my record of service as a senator. From my time as a senator, I have learned a lot about myself and about what matters when it comes to meaningful representation. I am proud to have been present for the deliberations on many important issues in this body as I have, including things like campaign finance reform, which was a very hot button topic in the 114th. And now, as I head on my way out, if you ask me what student government, and more specifically the Senate, needs right now, we need to take a significant step back from the way things have been done, in my opinion. We are, in some cases, we ought to focus on results and getting things done. We ought to focus on logic. We ought to focus on common sense, which is what I have done for my time as a senator. We need not glorify inaction. We need not browbeat others. And that is asinine, and there is no place for that. Madam Speaker, as I leave this body, there are many issues that this university faces. The stronger our challenges are, the greater our resolve must be. And I would forever regret this if I did not take time to address the largest issue that I think faces our university currently, which is the high acceptance rate and the chronic overadmission that follows it and the lack of infrastructure we have on hand to address it. We simply do not have the resources to continue to admit the large number of students we do. We are working on it, yes. Yes, we are. But it is not a reality yet. And the notion that our current situation is inevitable, folks, I would reject that. I've heard people say, we are a flagship institution. We are bound to accept the number of students that we do. But I reject that notion, because let's look at the acceptance rates of the University of Georgia, the University of Florida, the University of Maryland, the University of Virginia, the University of Texas, the University of California, Berkeley, UNC Chapel Hill. All of them are very, very low. But more importantly, if you look at the median profile of these students, they're fielding the best and brightest, but yet they are also all public flagship institutions. My parents raised me to have your house in order. For example, if you only make $60,000 a year, chances are you're not going to be driving a Jaguar fresh off the lot, folks. Let's just be very clear about that, okay? And that's the long and short of it. The same thing applies here. It makes us look bad when we talk out both sides of our mouth about boasting about having the largest number of incoming freshmen yet, and but we don't have the resources to accommodate them. We're getting there, like I said, but we don't have it yet. For example, we say we guarantee housing for all freshmen, but I recall being told that there were some instances, and this was a few years ago, but there were instances where that was not the case. And I was told that some freshmen had to be in hotels. I don't know if that is entirely true, but that is what I heard, Madam Speaker. And not to mention the fact that upperclassmen, it's the Hunger Games for off-campus housing. We do not have nearly any options to stay on campus after your freshman year. And that's asinine, folks. That's ridiculous. You know, meanwhile, I'll give you an example. When I got into UNC and I toured there, they said, if you want to stay on campus all 4 years, you can. We will make that a reality. No questions asked. I'm not saying that a larger university is bad. We just need to do things in a more sustainable way. And it is my hope that the administration will understand this message in the coming years. I also hope the Student Senate will take action legislatively and recommend that we stop doing this practice. You know, on that topic, I did try to raise attention to this, but it was voted down, unfortunately. Now, Madam
Chairman
Speaker.
Terhune. Agreed, yes.
Has it been 10 minutes? Oh, well. All that's to say, Madam,
Yep. One sec. It is in the it's in the Roberts Rules of Order newly revised version in both the 11th and 12th editions. It is, within, sorry. Thank you. 43.8. That's how I reference that. Sorry. Section 43.8 under length of and number of speeches. Sorry, one sec. Chairman Seitler. There's been a motion to move to a period of announcements. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Senator
Point of
Chewbacca.
information.
Granted.
Point of information, the gentleman and the senators should know this truly is the last time you will ever hear from me. I would be grateful if you would give me at least a 5-minute extension.
Senator Hargrave.
Point of inquiry, what time is it now?
It is 7:47.
Oh,
There might be, I cannot answer that question because I'm not a graduating senator. Senator Modica. I would appoint someone as your proxy so that we can have quorum to adjourn. Chairwoman Modica. There's been a motion to appoint Senator DiLorenzo as Senator Modica's proxy. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Chairwoman Modica? Granted. Senator Cluj? Apologies. Let me check if that's an interruptible motion. Unfortunately, a motion to extend the session is not an interruptible motion, heard but not recognized. Senator Colton? Per our codes, a senator can only proxy for up to one person. Senator Colton? There's been a motion to appoint Senator Knox as Senator Colton's proxy. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Colton? Granted. Are there any other interruptible motions? Seeing none. Senator Morgan, you are welcome to continue speaking.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. But with this being said, because it is clear that people do not want to hear what I have to say, and that's okay. I will, and you know, some things truly do never change, it would appear. So, Madam Speaker, I will wrap it up. To the haters I served with, and they know where they are. A lot of them have gone on. You ought to take notes on my time as a senator. With the conclusion of my service, I just put on a masterclass at how you represent, legislate, and get reelected. Although I'm about to hang up the mantle, I continue to serve much longer than they did, and cumulative time accrued in the Senate would point to that. To my parents, who I know they are not watching, I would like to thank them from the bottom of my heart. You've patiently listened to me throughout my years, expressed my frustrations, and have shared in my victories from my time as a senator. You have always believed in me, and for that I will ever be grateful. To the current president, who I anticipated on being here, you have heard me say this, but I will say it again. I am sincerely thankful for your willingness to work with me. And I feel like if former execs respected everyone and was willing to work with everyone, as much as you have been with me, we would see a lot more engagement coming out of student government. To my friend Ian Hurd, who was supposed to be here, he had to go to work. He works at the State House and they're in budget this week. I would like to wholeheartedly thank him for being both an amazing senatorial colleague to me and also a spectacular friend. And in the interest of time, Madam Speaker, he's one of the few members of this body who I have who I spend a huge amount of time with outside the chamber, and he's someone that I have many more commonalities with other than serving the people of this university in the capacity of a senator. Ian, your role and your impact on shaping me as a senator when I was still wet behind the ears is not lost on me. And I still think that if one of the greatest coalitions in this body was created by you, maybe only second to the John Haladin Coalition. And if I were to stand with you in the face of overreach and tyranny, I would do it again in a heartbeat. Quite honestly, folks, I think he will go down as the most active and, quite honestly, the best Speaker Pro Tem that this Student Senate has ever seen. This is a great and exceptional university. We are a great and exceptional people. And I had a great and exceptional speech that I had to truncate. But we need not forget that, folks. We need not forget that. The second we forget that we are amazing and we are exceptional, everything is not all for naught. May the grace of God, the love of Christ, and the fellowship of the Holy Ghost be with you all evermore. Madam Speaker, for those of my colleagues who were and have been listening this whole time, you may recall I referred to my first stint in the Senate as Morgan 1. Now, here marks the conclusion of Morgan 2. For the last time as a student senator at the University of South Carolina, I am not going to yield to questions. I'm going to yield to the well. It's late, and I have Tio's trivia waiting for me. Madam Speaker, I tender my resignation to the desk. Morgan out.
The senator yields to the well. Are there any other senators wishing to speak during the open discussion period? I recognize myself first. I just want to make sure that Reminder to everyone, if you come in late and you don't have a proxy, we do have to question quorum or your votes do not count. And then also, everyone's going to be on summer advisory committee. Please communicate with Speaker Pro Tem Forrest. That will be sent out on that later. I yield to the well. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Senator Gittens.
My fault, y'all. I know y'all want to get out of here, but I just wanted to say, like, you know, I'm graduating in like 2 weeks, and I'm really glad to see all these amazing faces out here. I would like to thank student government for giving me an opportunity to represent students. I would like to thank Jessica and Emma, you know, the two baddies of the LSC. I'd like to
Please,
thank,
let's keep this speech appropriate.
oh, sorry. The two amazing advisors of the LSC. I'd like to thank all the current exec and last year's exec for getting me involved in student government. And I just wanted to say that you guys are all amazing and you represent students phenomenally. And
The senator yields to the well. Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Senator Lewis.
Let me just say this. I got to get to a press conference after this, but this is pretty simple. You know, we've been in here in Senate for how long now? Since sometime in March. And how dare thee think that we are going to not give the opportunity for a senator to speak?
Point of order, his speech actually was out of order. As the chair, I did not issue a ruling on the point of order, and pursuant to Robert's Rules Order 12th edition, section 43.8, the senator has surpassed the default debate time limit of 10 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would say also is that, let me just get to what I need to get to. But, you know, there's a lot of great work we're going to continue to be doing, you know, come fall. And, you know, here in the Student Senate, you know, we have a great recommendation piece about the pepper spray, which I think that's a, you know, amazing piece. You know, it's going to be very beneficial here on, you know, here on campus. You know, I'm pretty sure they'll be doing a lot of extensive coverage about that. But we've also done great things, you know, the Student Senate has done great things, I think is, you know, very good. But let me just say this about, you know, nothing personal about delegations, you know, the vote, what it is. But I think that when we talk about bureaucracy and talk about, we don't want to, it's too much to go represent your students, turn your resignation in right now if it's too much to represent students. Turn it in. The clerk's sitting right here. She'll take it. She wouldn't mind. I mean,
our clerk is a man. Respectfully, you may continue.
But I mean, I'm just appalled right now at what's going on. I mean, my phone is, you know, I got a text message and they said, you mean to tell me that we elected them to this college and they can't hold a month meeting? I said, you indeed fact are correct. Now, I voted for it. You know, I vote for every piece I put up because, you know, I sponsored great legislation. But I believe that, you know, I don't really have to follow the, you know, but I think that is very important for that. You know, I'm not trying to say anything personal, but I'm just saying, you know, if you was elected by students, I feel like you should be able to represent the students. You should go back to be able to communicate with them and tell them what's going on. And then you say, oh, we're concerned it's too much that they're not going to get to the meetings. You show up once a week to your committee meeting. You go other places once a week. I don't know if you should be there, but you go there once a week. Don't miss a beat. So, I mean, I think our priorities, some of our priorities are not set straight. When I became a senator, I did not become part-time. When I joined the Senate 2 years ago, I was full-time. You know, it was, some nights I was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning writing legislation, looking at the codes, looking at the Constitution, working for the students and focusing on the students. It wasn't about, you know, how fast I can get it done. It wasn't about who's going to win the race. It was about what was best for the students. And I think I pretty much achieved that. And I think that we have some new senators in here, they're still learning. That's fine. When I was new, I was learning. I didn't know it all. I'm still learning things. You can always learn things, but I think, we need to be equipped to what we're doing and understand the role of a senator. Now, just thinking of it, I sat on the Powers and Responsibilities Committee, and I did some of the senators' interviews in here. Matter of fact, sat on them, questioned them,
Reminder, we have 2 minutes until adjournment.
and then did the interviews. And I think, great thing. That was a great part of it. We have 2 minutes left in Senate, you say?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It's been a very good Senate session. Our old chief of staff, she's back. She's good to see her. Sorry, Evan, about that. Are you waiting, Jensen? Oh, okay.
I apologize. Keep this to Senate-related business.
Yeah. So, getting back to the motor story. Yeah. This is not I don't think this is a goodbye. Yeah, I'll be here next week. I got a couple meetings scheduled with people and looking forward to that. And with that, I'll yield my time to the well.
The senator yields his time to the well. Does any other senator wish to bring a matter of attention to the body? Seeing none, we are now in line for a period of announcements. Are there any announcements from the floor? Chairman Terhune. Thank you. The senator yields his time. With no further announcements, guys, please sit. We are not adjourned yet. With no further announcements, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Without objection, guys, I'm sorry, we're not adjourned yet until that gavel bangs. Without objection, the Senate will now stand adjourned until Wednesday, August 19th, 2026.